True or false, Peter? Orlando Brown, the left tackle for whom they traded with the Ravens at some point in the not-too-distant past to get. He's the one free agent the Chiefs absolutely need to re-sign. True or false?
Well, I would say it's true. I would say he's clearly their most important free agent. But Mike, if somebody out there offers him $30 million, if somebody offers him a Tyreek Hill contract, and somebody might, I don't think Brett Veach will re-sign him. And I mean, obviously they want to re-sign him, but I think Andy Reid and Brett Veach have done a good job in placing proper valuations on their players, and I think they will do the same thing this year.
The Orlando Brown trade with the Baltimore Ravens in 2021 resulted in the Ravens getting a first-round pick, a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick, and a 2022 fifth-rounder, but giving back Brown a second-rounder and a sixth-rounder. So it wasn't a straight first-round pick. It was a flip-flop of a 1 and a 2, but there was other stuff too. My point is the Chiefs made an investment in Orlando Brown. They got 2 seasons out of him, franchise tagged him last year, and they're looking at a 20% bump or long-term deal, or he hits the open market. And the bottom line is this: you better have a plan to replace him. The plan for replacing Tyreek Hill was pretty simple. We'll go without the game-breaking speed guy to whom Patrick Mahomes is tempted to hold the ball a little bit too long so he can throw it 60 yards in the air. We'll just run the offense and throw to the open man. Slightly different with a left tackle. You better have somebody step in who can play left tackle. There isn't a different approach you can take to the left tackle. You can't say, we're fine without a left tackle. We're fine without, Pete, let me talk. We're fine without a left tackle. You have to have a plan B for left tackle. And that's my concern. And they know it's not going to be cheap, but hey, Peter, when they take the Patrick Mahomes deal, which is incredibly team-friendly, and it's getting more and more team-friendly every year relative to the salary cap, one of the reasons Patrick Mahomes did that deal is so they could keep other great players. And this is one of those situations where maybe Orlando Brown is one of the great players you keep. And maybe you do what the Patriots used to do to Tom Brady. Not to Tom Brady, but with the Tom Brady contract. It becomes very powerful when other guys are trying to be pigs at the trough to say, wait a minute, the quarterback isn't. Why should you be? Don't you want to be part of this? And the Patriots worked that into like a 10-year thing in New England. Maybe this is the first real test of that, Peter. Can they get Orlando Brown to be like Patrick Mahomes and not insist on top dollar?
Well, I mean, that's going to be a big question because you saw last year in the spring that reportedly anyway, the demands of Orlando Brown on a new contract seemed excessive. Okay, so we're going to see right now what Orlando Brown does this offseason. And this will be his one big chance for a payday probably in his NFL career, unless he ends up like a Trent Williams or or one of those guys who plays forever. I think what I would say, Mike, is everything about it I agree with you, other than the fact that I just don't think that Reid and Veach are going to be held hostage. And I think if Orlando Brown insists on whatever the number is, $30 million, I have no idea what it'll be. No one knows. But if he insists on money that is out of sight in their cap planning, I think they would either try to franchise him a second time. What would it be, about $20 million? They franchise him a 20%
bump over last year. Whatever it was last year, times 1.2.
Yeah.
I'll look it up here real quick.
Look it up and tell me. But to me, I think rather than look at this as something that here's the one guy we really need, Kansas City has just not acted that way. And they put an exclamation point on it last year with Tyreek Hill. When they thought that they could get a decent deal for Tyreek Hill rather than continue to pay him what he wanted, which is at the very top of the market. Now, they did make him a great offer at the end, surprising Tyreek Hill and his agent, Drew Rosenhaus. I just have a lot of questions about whether they would do in the range of 28, 30 million for Orlando Brown long term.
Peter, you were so close when you said 20 million. Because last year it was 16.662 million. You multiply that by 1.2. That's how you bump it by 20%. The number is 19.9944. And under the rules of Price is Right, you've gone over. So womp womp. But you were very, very close. Yeah. So it's just about 20 million to keep Orlando Brown for one more year. And maybe that's what they'll do. The thing that we can't forget, the cap keeps going up and up and up. So these numbers, which sound big in isolation, relative to what's available, they get smaller every year. And I keep going back to this tension I always have. Get as much as you can while you can. They're only paying you because you're great. The minute you're no longer great, they're no longer paying you great money. That tension on one hand versus being part of a championship team that keeps winning. But what's that Super Bowl ring really do? Once you've got one, then you got two. Okay, fine. But I'm taking care of my family. I've got money I can invest in other businesses, generational wealth, et cetera, et cetera. These are the issues that players have to resolve. I want to do one last item before we take our break, and this was the one that was actually getting kicked to the curb, but I'm fascinated by this one. Fill in the blank. The Chiefs' biggest obstacle to repeating as Super Bowl champions is what?
The greatness of 3 or 4 other quarterbacks in the AFC. And look, Mike, you know, what I find really interesting right now is just the simple fact that next year, you know, Kansas City is going to be playing in what I think will probably be at least a slightly fortified division. You know, they haven't lost, Patrick Mahomes hasn't lost in the division on the road ever. And they've hardly lost any games in their division in recent years. But I do think that the addition of Sean Payton makes Denver 20% more dangerous, maybe 30% more dangerous. Okay. I also think the fact that Philadelphia, they've got a very tough schedule. They play next year Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen. And obviously they play, the Chargers twice, and so Justin Herbert twice. Kansas City's got a really tough schedule. And look, I'm not saying that home field means all that much, particularly when you have Patrick Mahomes. He's proven he doesn't care where the games are played. But I do think that the biggest obstacle is not the re-signing of Orlando Brown. It's the fact that there are so many good quarterbacks in the AFC. We haven't even talked about Lamar Jackson because we're not positive where he's going to be. But if he's in Baltimore, that makes the Ravens obviously really, really dangerous. So I just look at it and think that the quality of opposition for Kansas City is far higher and far deeper in the AFC than the quality of opposition for Philadelphia in the NFC.
That was a great answer. I'm going to give you mine in a much less amount of time. Joe Burrow. That's the biggest obstacle. Because Joe Burrow was 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes in calendar year 2022. And Joe Burrow, for a moment there, longer than a moment, it felt like after the Chiefs were up 10, that Joe Burrow was going to do to Patrick Mahomes what Patrick Mahomes does to other teams when he's down 10. It felt like they were going to drive down the field and win the game until Chris Jones forced the intentional grounding, sacked Joe Burrow to end the drive, and then all of a sudden the Chiefs have the ball back, and I thought we were going to overtime until Joseph Asai did what he did, which I still feel horrible for the kid because he was caught in a tough spot, but it happened. He got flagged. field goal, makeable. Harrison Butker kicks it through, and the Chiefs advance, and you forget how hard it was to overcome the Bengals. So I think the Bengals and Joe Burrow are the biggest obstacles. And, Peter, that home schedule next year for the Chiefs. Renew your season tickets now, folks, because it features the Eagles, the Bills, and the Bengals. 3 of the 9 home games. Well, 8 because one's going to be played in Germany. Wouldn't it be something? I know they're telling us to break, but wouldn't it be something if one of those 3 games is the Germany game for the Chiefs? I don't think it will be.
Won't.
But wouldn't it be something if the NFL exports? Well, they don't need to. They don't need to. They could be the Chiefs against a local group of German players who just anybody against the Chiefs, and they're going to fill that stadium. So it doesn't have to be one of the great games on the schedule. Let's take a break.
Mike, last thing on this subject.
Go ahead.
Last thing on this subject. So I wrote the other day that the 2 games in Germany are going to be played on consecutive Sundays in November. 2 9:30 a.m. Eastern games. One will be the Patriots being the home team. The other will be Kansas City being the home team. And you're right, Kansas City has an embarrassment of riches. Can you imagine even if they put the Chargers or the Lions as the team there? That'd be a great, potentially a really great football game. And then obviously, the Patriots being over there with Belichick. In the span of 8 days, Germany is going to have 2 excellent football games.
That really is incredible. When you think of the excitement for the one game this year, to put both of them there that close together, the folks in Germany are going to get just a little more, enough of a taste. I think it's going to make them want even more. And we talk about teams in London eventually. I think, as Roger Goodell suggested during the season, 4-team division at some point with a team or 2 in Germany to go with a team or 2 in London. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.